And here we are on another relaxed Sunday where pretty much I get to decompress and download and check in with you and let you know what I've been up to this last few weeks. I'm doing my best to get better at sort of posting a bit more regularly. I've definitely slacked off this last week or so, especially with my shorts and my reels. And the reason for that is because I have been dealing with some pretty intense burnout. Art is something I do as something that is a restorative mental health practice in my life. It is a deep passion, and whenever I'm not creating or not making something, I feel off. Sort of, there's something that's deeply out of sync in my psyche. So I wake up 5:30 every morning and walk the dog, take my cold shower, take my vitamins, and then I sit down and paint for an hour. And I think the process of sort of videoing that and recording that started to put pressure on what I was making. It's amazing to me how quickly I can slip into people pleasing and into thinking about what everybody else thinks, or what would be the quote unquote smart move to do for my art, or it's that internalized capitalism. It gets you. It really gets you thinking that in order for this art to have value, it has to have a price. So this process is mental health practice, which is what art essentially is for me. It's a way for me to remind myself that I'm not on the earth to pay bills and die, that I'm here to have fun, and that I'm here to make images, sometimes dark, sometimes deep, sometimes eerie, sometimes light, sometimes expressive, sometimes really emotive, sometimes cathartic, sometimes absolutely abstract, sometimes with meaning, sometimes without. Either way, I've learned over the years that it's better to keep the brush moving. And I'm grateful that I've understood a little bit more lately that I can keep the brush moving off camera. Like, that's totally okay for me to make art that no one's ever going to see. I know I have such a small audience here, and I think the biggest view on one of my videos is 100 and something, which is probably more people than have ever been to one of my art gallery showings, or that's back when I was doing those. But it's still, what art needs to be in my life is something beautiful and something innately personal. I heard a quote a while ago from Liz Gilbert. I think she wrote the book Big Magic. I think she's most known for a book she wrote called Eat, Pray, Love, but Big Magic was the self-help book on creativity, and I don't even think it's in the book, but an interview she gave about it, where she said when it comes to her creativity, she is entirely selfish. That she creates what she wants to create, and she doesn't think about how it's going to be interpreted or how it's going to be seen or received. And I'm returning to that over and over and over again, because initially that's kind of what art has always been for me. I just want to make what I want to make. But still, even now, 44 years into this game, I still catch myself thinking, what would happen if I did this? How many people will want to buy that piece of art, And because I know if I want to sell art and make some money from it, I paint owls. And I know for some reason the owls hit that certain frequency in my art where people just want to purchase them. And I do like painting them, just not all the time. This is more my jam, what I'm creating right now. Quirky, strange illustrations where women have raven feathers for dresses. Because why not? I think I'm a sickly Victorian illustrator child trapped in the body of a 44-year-old gay illustrating man. Like I said, it's something I'm having a lot of fun and returning to having fun doing it. But over the last few months, I found myself again, and I'm irritated at myself for doing it. I found myself again thinking about what would be the better move to do, what would be the smarter move to do, instead of just what do I want to make, what do I feel like making. And I think I'm not afraid of that question, but I am always in, I suppose the right word, I'm not afraid of it. I'm afraid of the pause afterwards. Like, what if nothing comes? What if I don't want to make anything? What does that mean? And I think it's all down to identity. And that's a big, massive conversation that we can have at some point, because there's so much happening right now. In my day job, I'm working on this huge reinvention and rebranding and putting on more content. In my art, I'm just trying to keep these things as simple and as beautiful as possible. I've just set up the camera above where I draw every morning anyway and just hit record. And then on Sundays, I just download whatever I've done that week. And when it comes to music, I've released an album in March and I'm promoting that, whilst also halfway through recording another album and gearing up for that, whilst also maintaining a music YouTube channel where I post songs and covers, one each a month, so uploading every 2 weeks, and I only get an hour or so a day to work on the music. I know it's totally first world problems. Like, it's not like, oh no, poor me, I only get to work on my music for an hour a day. But it is what it is. It's a puzzle, not a problem. It becomes a problem when you start taking it seriously, which I tend to do. And because I know it's so important for me to be in the creative flow, whenever that creative flow is challenged or whenever that creative flow is interrupted, I take it personally almost. It's really strange. It's strange what I do. I don't know why, but I think it's down to identity, and my identity as an artist, and who am I if I'm not an artist, and who am I if I'm not making. And also, I think with that, but I'm on this sort of big mission right now to unpack a ton of my own internalized sort of masculinity, toxic masculinity, internalized capitalism, all this sort of stuff. What I'm actively seeking out the parts of me that are acclimated to treating my value and my price as the same thing, or my value and my transaction as the same thing. Because if you take your eye off the ball for a minute, I'm telling you now, that capitalism, that's what it'll have you do. It'll have you thinking your only worth is whatever price is attached to what you're doing. And you can just make art, and 5 people can see it, and that can be enough. It hasn't got to be anything other than that. You can make art and nobody can see it, and that's enough. Because, as Elizabeth Gilbert said in one of her interviews, when you're making the art, I think it's also making you. It's creating this peace, this joy. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself, to keep returning to over and over again. It's just reminding myself that I'm picking up this paintbrush because it's fun. I'm picking up this paintbrush because it brings me peace. It steeps and settles a piece of my soul. And I never really want to let go of that. I will make art for as long as I have the capacity to do so. In any way, shape or form, I have the capacity to make it. To not make it is unthinkable. I know, because I've gone through periods of my life where I've actually dismissed my art and looked down on it and been very, very cruel to myself in terms of its monetization and how I think it should exist in my life, in terms of, if it's not making me money, why am I bothering? If nobody's seeing it, why am I bothering? Well, I'm bothering because it puts a big smile on my face, and it puts a certain energy in my soul. I spend a lot of time quantifying it and justifying it, and I know, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, I know where that's coming from. But I'm still in that, I still catch myself now and again in that habit. And being in that habit recently is what led me to this little bit of a burnout, where I just found everything overwhelming and exhausting. So I stopped. And I took a breath. I remembered who I was. And then I started again. And that's the beautiful thing about art. It's always, always there with open arms. So I hope you've enjoyed this. This week, this is the finished piece. She is watercolors and pen and ink and whatever else I had to hand in my room, and I truly hope you enjoyed watching me create it. It shall be available in my shop, and if you would like a print or anything like that, or if you have any ideas of what I can do with this image, then don't be afraid to let me know. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe.